Hey guys, welcome back. Sports with Mano y Mano. I'm Jim and I'm here with Steve.
Hi, everybody.
So a lot of stuff going on. Obviously, let's start off with the NCAA, right?
Of course.
Virginia. Let's talk about it.
All right. The show had prognosticated that Virginia would win this NCAA tournament. So a
Si-
shout out to my brother and host Jim.
But we're partners. But 68 teams, and that's the team I thought was right from the start, and we got it.
Yeah, but a couple shows ago, to our loyal listeners, no, I said I'm not taking Virginia stock until they win this, or you know, um, show some balls, if you will, but they did. And
And who do we talk about? Is Tony Bennett? Is this guy not the most polished, quality, classiest coach in NCAA history?
all right, well, so we were just talking before the show for our lady listeners. George Clooney look-alike, Jay Wright guy. But I tell you what, Tony Bennett did a great job.
Oh,
And
God, it was awesome.
congratulations to Virginia. And especially their players. I mean, it's funny how Virginia won this, right? So they lost last year the first number one seed to lose to a 16 seed.
To UMBC, which
Correct.
if half our audience can even know who UMBC is,
Right. And,
kudos.
and here they are, right? And they win it. And they didn't win it like going away.
No,
They had some very tenuous moments throughout the tournament.
good word.
But the thing is, they had some good players, man. This Kyle Guy,
Oh my
Ty
God.
Jerome, and DeAndre Hunter. This kid, obviously in a championship game, everybody watched it. Came, made a big shot, man.
And listen, yeah, not made a big shot. He made three big shots from
But
the
he also
corner.
made
This
about
was Dave DeBuscher like
yeah,
kind of thing.
he had 28 points, I think. And the word on the street is this kid's going to be a lottery pick.
Sure, he's going pro. He's going pro.
But I think it's a feel good story. That's what I want to point out.
I know, and I guess that's what everyone's saying. They lost to a 16 seed last year and so forth, and okay, they get it. And he recouped in this Bennett. But I tell you, that final game, you're right. Kyle Guy and Ty Jerome from the Westchester guy,
Oh,
all the
well,
way
good.
down to Virginia.
That's cool.
New Rochelle, I think he was.
No, good. He's a local tri-state guy. That's cool.
And those three shots from the corner that DeAndre Hunter made was whoa. I mean, he didn't even smell the rim. That's how perfect those shots were. And
Well, what,
they were clutch, and it was great. And there's a lot of controversy about the replay and that ball going out of bounds and so forth. But isn't that what replay is all about?
right.
Right?
Okay.
I mean, so yeah, they had a lot of good fortune come their way and so forth, but that was I'm just couldn't be more delighted for Virginia. Couldn't be
Listen,
more.
listen. The national championship game was great, but
Usually is.
semifinal, the Final Four game, Virginia Auburn, I think was one of the best games I think I've ever seen. Okay,
Okay.
and let's talk about the elephant in the room, the foul on Kyle Guy in the corner. Listen, it was a foul, people. Okay,
I agree.
and what got me to realize it was a foul was the fact that you cannot take this guy's space. He has to come down, right? So they showed a replay, and the guy who fouled him, I can't, tell you what Auburn player it was, but where his feet were and where he landed, he invaded the space. Granted, it was breathed on, but that was a foul.
I think it was a little more than breathed on him. He threw his body into him and he shook his body. And listen, I actually thought that was going to come down to in the final game. Same kind of thing. If you even go near the guy with less than 2 seconds left, you're going to get a foul.
All right, but credit to this Kyle Guy kid, right? So
Oh
now
my
you've
God.
got 3 free throws, right? And you got to make them. And I tell you what, I was watching this, right, as you all were, and I had every confidence in the world this guy was going to make the free throws, and he made them like butter. He
God,
did.
like he was shooting into the Atlantic Ocean.
And
crying
credit
out
Bruce Pearl, and if you heard my previous shows, I'm not a fan of him, but he called that timeout on the third one,
loud.
and you know what? Guy made it, and Virginia advanced, and hey,
But this kid
congratulations to Virginia for winning this tournament.
Not only did he make those three shots to get to the finals, but he nailed them. And Virginia was 11 for 12 from the foul line
Right,
in the final game.
exactly.
It was awesome.
Right, and those are the little things that win national championships.
And listen,
right?
I'm a big Chris Beard fan. I mean, he's classy coach, great guys, great
job.
players.
Did
It
a
was
great
awesome.
job. Did a great job, and I'm hoping Texas Tech can sustain this. I don't know.
They'll lose a couple of guys in the draft.
But I don't know that
Culver's
program to say they're stocked and you'll see Texas Tech again. But it's a good story for them. They got to the
course.
final game. Congratulations.
Oh, it was great. It really was great. And I just couldn't be happier for Tony Bennett in Virginia.
Yeah.
I mean, Ralph Sampson sitting in the audience going, And you and I talked about this last time. I said, I could have sworn they made the Final Four. Or, how did Ralph Sampson not win a national championship with that team? Lamp and
Yeah,
those
Lee
guys-
Raker and
oh my God!
and actually there's a guy locally, Tim Mullen, who played at Ridgewood High School. I think Tim Mullen was on that 81 to 84 stretch.
Okay.
But anyway, to all our listeners, Virginia alumni, whatever, that's a big thing for Virginia to finally get the elephant off their back.
And listen, the whole NCAA March Madness, it lived up to its expectations. It was great games, the whole thing. And if you're not a fan of that, you got to tune in because it's what's better than that? It's great.
It was a great tournament. And,
Great.
I'm happy that Jim Monahan predicted Virginia Cavaliers to win it all out of
Wow.
a field of 60
68.
plus, right? Exactly.
68. But
So while we're talking NCAA, for our local fans, Chris Mullen. So let's talk about that. Chris Mullen just, I guess, resigned from St. John's.
step down, as they
Step
would call
down.
it. Yeah.
And unquestionably the best player in the history of St. John's,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I guess.
And- And listen, St. John's made the tournament this year, but I just don't see Chris Mullen as a coach. It's hard to put a word to it.
Well, Steve, it's funny that you bring this up because one of our loyal fans, his son goes to St. John's.
Okay.
And we got a St. John's history and so
Brendan
forth.
Monahan, all Big East catcher, et cetera, et cetera.
But we talked about this. Chris Mullen as the coach. I always contend that he was the recruiter, not the coach. And we saw it time and time again. Critical points in St. John's season. He was he was outside, mucking up with the refs and stuff. While the other guys, Mitch Richmond, that's who I think is going to be the successor. And I don't know.
Well,
who-
there's talk Bobby Hurley. They're
Okay.
sniffing Bobby Hurley.
Right, and there's been a lot of sentiment about, Patino is sitting on the bench and,
It's funny you mention that. Rick Pitino. Okay, let's talk about Rick Pitino.
not going to happen at
Okay,
St.
you're
John's.
sniffing the St. John's job. Why? Because you've been blackballed by the NCAA.
Right.
Great coach. Don't get me wrong. His resume is impeccable as far as basketball. But Rick, you need to take ownership of what went on at Louisville. And I'm sorry, I can't, for the life of me, see a university hiring you again. I just can't see it.
No, certainly not at St. John's.
No.
I mean, and if Niagara had the money, we would consider hiring him, but of course, that's not going to happen.
Right, for our audience, Jim is a graduate of Niagara University, And they actually have a couple NBA guys, Calvin Murphy and Hubie Brown and so on and so Frank
Larry
Layden.
Costello and
Right,
the
very-
fat man Frank Layden, of course.
Of course. But the point is, this is St. John's, and for Rick Pitino,
It's not going to
he
happen.
has to be so desperate. You think Rick Pitino, in his heyday, would even consider St. John's? Absolutely
Of course not. No, because they don't have the leverage that they have in, all these other Memphis and all these other schools
Right.
that these guys were at.
So back to the point on St. John's is, listen, they hired a Duke guy as the AD. I don't know his name, I'm sorry, but he goes back with Hurley. They're going to make a play for Hurley, but Bobby Hurley is at Arizona State with a great contract. And listen, obviously everybody kind of knows who Bobby Hurley is, right?
Well, most of our fans would certainly.
I will not be surprised, my point is, that Bobby Hurley, because of this Duke connection, takes it. There's a buyout and all this other nonsense that goes with that. But they need to make a splash here.
But just talking about it, yeah, he's got an Arizona State gig. I just can't see him going to St. John's. I think that's a tough spot to fill. But, like I said, it's not going to be Pitino. There is no way that St. John's,
chance.
because he's going to look for $6 million a year or whatever it is. But
Rick Pitino has so much money, he would take this job for $500. That's my point. Is Rick Pitino is so desperate to resurrect his career, if you will.
But we talked about this real closely. Mullen, I'm not sure what the circumstances around him stepping down or whatever, but he truly was a recruiter, not the coach. And I'm going to go on record as saying I think he brought Mitch Richmond, established NBA star, solid player.
Well, they got connection from Golden State,
Right.
obviously, when they played.
But, like I said, I'd love to find out why Mullen stepped down and so forth, because he could have had that job for forever, right?
All right, so my take on that is Chris Mullen, I think, did a good job of coming back to St. John's. Obviously, Luke Arneseka is, 95 years old, loyal to St. John's.
The sweater.
Right? And listen, I'm not, no way, shape, or form are we knocking Chris Mullen here, okay? Kudos for taking the job. He had 4 years. They got him to the NCAA tournament. As great of a player as Chris Mullen was.
And he was great. You're right. He was great.
The point is you're looking at him as this coach. And
he's not a coach.
It just doesn't translate.
He's a recruiter. He's not a coach.
Is our point. So is he stepping down? Okay, yeah, good. You did 4 years. They hired a Duke guy, right? And I just think Chris Mullen did a serviceable job. Commend him for that. But the point is, when you looked at him on the sidelines as a coach, it didn't translate.
Because he wasn't even involved in, down to 2 minutes, let's run this play. He was over, mucking with the cheerleaders and the refs.
Right, and again, this show is not about Chris Mullen, but let's talk about Chris Mullen. The greatest St. John's player, bar none.
Walter Berry, second.
Dream team, right?
Gold medal.
Golden State Warrior, great NBA career.
Agreed.
NBA Hall of Fame.
Yep.
So the point is, St. John's needs to move on and to be determined who the coach is.
Yep.
But they're making a play for Bobby Hurley. I wouldn't be surprised if Hurley actually takes the game.
All right, I'll be shocked if he does, but that sounds logical.
Right.
He could recruit the New York City kids and so forth. So.
Absolutely, that's what it's all about with St. John's.
Anyway, so one of the other big things was, and Steve and I were talking about this. It doesn't seem like anybody wants this UCLA job. They offered it to who?
Rick Barnes.
But who would they offer it to before? It was Calipari, right?
Yeah, but he was never leaving Kentucky. They gave him that lifetime.
Why
deal.
would he? Right? But they're throwing $100 million at these guys.
Right, but for our basketball college fans, I think that's a great topic. Why wouldn't anybody take the UCLA job? John Wooden, Bill Walton,
I know,
Lou Alcindor, et cetera, et cetera.
And I just wondered about
What's
it.
up with that? What do you think?
Because I thought, after the whole Wooden era and so forth, and you know who won the NCAA championship? It was Ben Woodland, or who was the coach?
Well, Larry Brown.
Ben Howland.
Ben Howland.
Ben Howland.
But Larry Brown, I think, won it, didn't he? Or no, he got to the.
He got there, but yeah, Ben Howland actually picked up the pieces and
You're right.
won it.
Right.
But I just didn't see that as the prestige job that it once was.
Right. Gene Bartow, guys like this.
Oh my God! You know.
It's really crazy, you know. And for our fans, listen. Obviously, we can research who it was and this, that, and the other thing. The thing about our show is we go on memory here, right? And the thing about UCLA that why we're bringing it up is, why doesn't anybody want this job? It's UCLA, right? So,
I think, you know why? Because I think they're all afraid about going there and trying to establish a legacy that Wooden left, which you can't beat.
Of course not.
You just can't beat.
No, you can't.
So, you know, if you're going to go to L.A., you know, you better win 4 national championships or you're going to get run out of town.
So here's the point. You know who they hired? Mick Cronin from the University of Cincinnati.
Right. And
to UCLA after going after Barnes and going after the biggest names. You mentioned Calipari, right?
And I looked at it and I said, okay, let me digest Mick Cronin's resume. Right? 7 years at Cincinnati.
Took over for Huggins.
Okay.
It was one of our biggest sleaze bags.
Oh my God, he's in the Eddie Sutton class. I mean,
for any of our West Virginia.
Sorry to you know,
rain on your parade.
Right, but Huggins, forget it. But anyway, so Cronin, 7 years in Cincinnati,
right.
Winning record, made the tournament each year,
right.
but won 3 tournament games.
Right.
And is that what they settled on?
And what does UCLA think that Mick Cronin is going to do to resurrect the program? To obviously, again, to our point, John Wooden was John Wooden, right? But to make UCLA relevant again, give a top 10 program, correct?
I think they missed the boat here. They needed somebody else who was California based or whatever. This guy Cronin was a Cincinnati guy. I mean, he's Cincinnati, Ohio.
Now he's a California guy.
Okay.
Good luck, Mick Cronin.
They're going to give him $4 million a year, but good.
That's fine.
Would like to see you resurrected, but I'm not sure how the UCLA fans or the alumni or the boosters feel about it. But
it's all about wins and losses. So
wow.
Good luck going forward.
Yep.
So really, that's kind of the cap on our NCAA 2018-19 season.
And kudos to the Cavaliers. It was great, remarkable story. And somebody actually brought up the other day, this is going to be a movie, and it should be a movie. Yeah. It's awesome.
There was a couple things about Virginia too. I saw they're the first NCAA champ since 1990 UNLV that didn't face a number 1 or a number 2 seed in the tournament.
Yeah.
And I'm not knocking them. It's just a relevant fact.
And also the first team to have the best defensive percentage since the Cal Bears in what, like
the 50s. So they led the league in scoring, defense, or defending. So defensively since 1950 type of thing.
It was later than that. It was the Cal Bears.
Yeah, but I'm going to say it goes way back.
Yeah.
And so the point is, listen, that's what's crazy about the tournament going in.
Yeah.
That's why Muriel at the water cooler is going to probably won $500 or $1,000 in whatever pool, right?
She likes the jockey's colors.
And to my point a couple shows ago, the more you know about this, I think the less you do.
Yeah.
But congratulations to my partner and my brother James for picking the Virginia Cavaliers.
Yeah. Kudos and thumbs up to Tony Bennett and Cavaliers. It was awesome.
It's all right. So we'll revisit the college hoop scene and.
All right. So let's move on. Let's move on to the NBA. There's while we're on the basketball theme, right?
Of course.
The big shocking story today: Magic Johnson stepping down. To me, that's breaking news. I don't know. I mean, what do you think of this? I mean, it was almost like stop the presses on ESPN. Magic Johnson steps down. Is that really something that was breaking newsworthy? I guess from an LA perspective and the high profile thing, but this guy hasn't done anything since he's been there.
All right, so here's my take. I woke up this morning, had a cup of coffee like I always do, and I turned on ESPN, and Magic resigned. Okay. And the thing about it, listen, it's Magic Johnson, okay? Sports icon.
Not denying his legacy
Of course
as
not.
a player or
But
whatever.
But the point is, the first thing I thought was, I don't think Anthony Davis is going to the L.A. Lakers. It's the first thing I thought. Okay?
All right.
Listen, Jeannie Buss is the daughter of Dr. Jerry. The Lakers, obviously, their resume speaks for themselves. But if Magic Johnson is resigning from the L.A. Lakers, there is trouble in L.A. There is.
Well, I think
trouble.
there's been trouble for years in L.A.
Of course there has. But the point is, if he's the savior and he goes, I can't do this. And listen, what has Magic Johnson got to do, right? He's worth probably $1 billion. Okay, he's got his hands in 9,000 businesses.
Movie theaters and all kinds of nonsense.
All that. But the point is, if he's throwing his arms up on the L.A. Lakers, boy, that spells trouble.
I just
so
I think it's more than that.
But my point is Anthony Davis. I can't see coming to L.A. And that's the big name.
And you're right. I'm not sure what his motivation was or the reason he left. You know, maybe, like I said, he wants to go on vacations with Cookie and whatever. But, I mean, really, at this point...
That's his wife, Cookie.
Yeah.
Who stood by him after the 91 AIDS
after the 91
revelation.
Fake AIDS revelation. Because I think anyway, that's
another show.
But anyway, so I'm not sure because obviously they're going to fire Luke Walton, and maybe it was Magic says I don't want to be the guy that fires Luke Walton, then we bring somebody else in and we still don't win and. It tarnishes legacy in L.A. I don't know.
I think a lot has to do, to your point, tarnishing his legacy. Because there has to be some dysfunction going on in Lakerland. Right?
Yep.
But let's be real. LeBron is there, right? Obviously. And they have ability to sign 2 max guys.
Yep.
And Anthony Davis, obviously, with the nonsense that's going on with him.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up, Steve. Because listen, you're right. Anthony Davis, he wore this stupid shirt saying "Thanks for the memories" or whatever the hell it was.
Right, little Looney Tunes reference.
Oh my God!
That's it, folks.
That's all, folks. That's what he said. Right.
Exactly.
But you're right. So now with Magic Johnson stepping down, what does that mean for the Lakers? Does that mean to me not a lot? Why? Because LeBron James is the coach, the general manager, and the commissioner of the NBA.
Exactly.
So when you say that dismisses Anthony Davis going to the Lakers, I'm not so sure. But does it dismiss Kevin Durant not going to the Lakers? I don't know. But
I'll take that back, James. I think you make a valid point right there. That LeBron James is running the show, okay?
Big time.
And if he wants... And here's the other thing about Anthony Davis. So, you know what? I'm actually backtracking here. I just learned recently, this morning actually, Davis's agent is the same as LeBron James. So, listen.
Case closed.
All right. So as we're talking about this, and this is what's beautiful about our show here, is we can change our opinions.
Sure.
And I just had this revelation.
Yep.
That's exactly what's going on. Magic does not have control.
Yep.
LeBron has complete control. And if he wants Anthony Davis,
he's getting
they have
Anthony
the same
Davis.
agent. So I'm going to go on record right now saying Anthony Davis is going to the Lakers.
I think maybe that's what drove Magic Johnson crazy, saying, I'm supposed to be the president of basketball operations, and I got a player driving the bus. Crazy, right? But that's how it is.
He's not just a player. He's like Michael Jordan, really.
Okay, but he's
Okay.
also the president, and he's
That's still playing.
Yep.
Obviously Michael became a billionaire after the fact, but I think you hit it right on the head. Now that we're talking about it, I'm going to go on record saying Davis is going to the Lakers.
Yep.
Why? Because LeBron wants him, and Magic is like, and I'm not in control of this.
And I think with those two players, with LeBron James and Anthony Davis, he needs one more marquee player,
And you made
and
that
that
point.
may be.
Klay Thompson, you made that point the other on the last show.
And I'm not dismissing that it could be Kevin Durant either, but it's going to be one big marquee player besides Anthony Davis, because LeBron James doesn't like sitting on the sidelines watching the NBA playoffs.
No, absolutely, and he hasn't done it for.
And they got more money than it, right? These max contracts. What's the max? 28 mil or what? It's
doesn't
insane.
matter.
It's crazy.
Right. So,
So-
good point, Jim,
Yeah.
on that. I think you're spot on. I think the fact that I saw that agent is connected to Davis and LeBron, that's a done deal.
Yuck.
So the Celtics, with all your capital, you better start shopping elsewhere. Because I think Anthony Davis is going that way.
And Steve, to your point, like I said, Kyrie Irving may want to stay home and play in New York. And like I said, I think we just talked about this. The Knicks, they tanked all year, got the worst record in the NBA. The load the ping pong balls, because
Yeah.
I still think Zion's going there. But you know what? If it's that important to LeBron James to secure his legacy of going to another team, I wouldn't rule out him getting Kyrie Irving either. Kyrie Irving, Durant, they got nothing but money to spend, right? I mean,
Well, to be determined, but listen,
we'll see.
West Coast, East Coast, we're going to predict.
Yeah.
We don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
But like we just said, I foresee Anthony Davis now going to the Lakers. And to your point on the previous show, I see Klay Thompson signing up, and that's their big three.
Yeah.
The Knicks got two max. And if Durant, like we talked about, he wants to cement his legacy and bring a championship to New York,
Like you said,
be the quote-unquote savior.
Yep.
And Kyrie,
I think they need both actually to go to New York. And,
that's good business for the NBA.
Yep.
East, West Coast.
All right. So listen, that's great. Steve, good points. Great
No,
great
you
points.
too, Jim. Absolutely.
So let's move on. Let's talk about baseball right now. Right, we're in the first 2 weeks of the season and so forth. Red Sox fans are a little frustrated and blah blah. But what's the I don't want to say funniest point of it, but this Chris Davis, and we talked about this last time, the money this guy's making, 0 for 49, I think. And
Correct.
that's even before I don't know if they're playing an afternoon game today or not, but
No, actually,
0 for 49.
it's uncanny. Obviously, we talked about it on the previous show. So here I'm holding out hope. He's 0 for 49.
Okay.
It would be poetic justice, if you will, if he goes 0 for 56 and matches Joe DiMaggio's 56 game hitting streak, and he goes 0 for 56. That's what I'm hoping for. Ha ha ha. But let's be real here. Chris Davis is the first baseman of the freaking Baltimore Orioles. 0 for 49.
Making $148
7-year
million.
deal they signed him to in 15.
Oh, God.
Making $23 million a year. Okay? It's a running joke now. And I actually saw the press conference for the Orioles manager. Obviously, it's not Buck anymore. Guy Brandon Hyde. Did I know who Brandon Hyde was till I saw this press conference? Absolutely not. Right? What do you do with this guy? You got to pay him anyway because it's baseball.
It's baseball. It's guaranteed. It's guaranteed.
Right? I don't know how long you watch this. Obviously, they have to employ him till he gets his first hit of the year. But you're paying him $23 freaking million a year.
I know. And I got to say,
That's Jacoby Ellsbury money that the Yankees are reading.
you just see it. They're probably still paying Ed Whitson and these other guys. I mean, that's how crazy.
For all our Yankee fans from back in the day,
You know what I'm talking about.
who beat up Billy Martin in the bar.
Right, but it's sad that he passed away. But Wouldn't you rather put Eddie Goodell, the one-armed guy that faced Babe Ruth or
Exactly.
something? 0 for 49?
How about employing Jim or Steve Monahan for the first baseman job?
Hey, you were a Hall of Famer in high school.
I can guarantee you I'm getting a hit in 49 at bat. I don't know how it's happening, but I'm going to get. And here's the funny thing. Chris Davis has 2 RBIs. You know he's got 2 RBIs? He
Right.
walked with the bases loaded.
And what, hit by a pitch with the bases loaded?
Ground out to second base. Runner scored.
Double play or something.
Whatever,
Yeah, right.
you know.
But anyway, that's...
We had to bring this up because it's front and center.
Oh, my God. It's unbelievable.
This guy hit 50 freaking home runs in 2015 or 14. So does it get to this steroid conversation again?
Steve, we talked about it last time. I think it does.
It
I
has
actually
to.
think it does.
It has to.
0 for 49 is just
It's
unbelievable.
incredible. It really is incredible.
And now they have to play him, he may go for 60, but they're not going to take him out of the lineup.
Well, they're
until
going to play him until he gets that first hit.
until he gets the first hit, of course.
But
exactly.
it's baseball. It's
Yep.
funny. It's funny,
Yep.
really. It's a crazy sport.
And I know how tough it is, and hitting a major league fastball is tough enough. But
No, I think
Andy Stankiewicz got more hits than Chris Davis
Right.
did, right? I mean,
But the point is, too, I think it goes towards a debate that in sports, hitting a major league fastball might be the hardest thing to do
that's what Ted Williams used to
in
say.
all, major sports, right? It might be the hardest thing to do.
Hitting a round ball with a round bat at 90 miles an hour. If Ted Williams says it, then it must be true.
And listen, I'm not mocking Chris Davis here, okay? Now, don't get me wrong. He's got a steroid thing. I'm not calling him out on it. But I feel bad for the guy.
Not
I
for
mean-
$150 million do I feel bad for him, actually.
I get that point, but as an ex-player and anybody who's played baseball, right? And he looks lost at the plate.
Oh.
He looks lost,
God.
right? But yeah, to your point, I have no sympathy on you getting paid. Trust me, I would love to go for 0 for 49.
And then go to the bank on Tuesday
making
and cash my check.
23 million a year.
Agreed.
But I just wanted to throw out that sports with mono and mono are not,
No, we're not
ogres.
No, we're not attacking guys, but this is
We're
Major
calling them
League
out for
Baseball.
what it is. But I also have a level of sympathy
Yep.
in a little bit on that.
All right. So listen, a couple other quick things, and let's touch base on the Masters. I think we covered this last week.
Okay.
I'm sticking with.
And it's here, 2 days, or
Yep.
what, tomorrow?
Yep. I'm sticking with Dustin Johnson and my sleepers, Ricky Fowler.
Okay.
However, let's move on. That we've covered that, and you got some feelings on Tiger Woods. Can he pull this off?
I wouldn't be surprised. Can he? I think he can.
He's healthy.
Would I be
and stuff?
surprised? And listen, on the last show, I forgot to mention Rory McIlroy. And
course.
actually, I mentioned Reed and Justin Rose
You
as my
did.
2 guys.
Reed was your guys.
But I was remiss.
Yep.
After we went off air, I said to myself, don't discount Rory McIlroy.
No, I think that
Because I think he's going to get the Grand Slam at some point of, winning all 4 majors.
absolutely. I don't think we
The
both.
fact that he won that tournament a couple weeks ago, and I think he's lasered in,
and
whatever.
I'm not going to be shocked if he wins it. Yes, because I think he's got a Grand Slam in his closet, and that's
But again,
whether it's this year or next year. But you're right. I didn't mean to dismiss him. I was only taking my 2 picks.
right, no,
Your
of course.
Patrick Reed, my Dustin Johnson, my Fowler.
It's like the NCAA tournament. I
Right.
mean, there's literally 68, 64 quality golfers out there. So
But I think
anyone can win.
But I think what's not going to happen, it's not going to be a Danny Willett coming out and knock off this class of players like Johnson and Spieth and Rahm and
Okay.
Fowler and all these guys. It's not going to be a Danny Willett guy, but
Sing Young Whom?
hey, you know what? That
Who
guy
could possibly win it? That's the point we're
but this
trying to
guy,
bring
you know,
here.
Sing Young Moon is actually playing.
And I don't
pretty
even
good.
know if I'm pronouncing his name right, but you get my drift.
Yeah, of course. Let's not go into our comedy segment here. Anyway, so let's enjoy the Masters. It's coming up. It's
Right?
golf spectacular. Of course.
All right, now let's shift gears here to somewhat of a serious subject.
Yep.
Okay? So, one of our competitors and the voice of the New York Yankees, okay, we're not going to mention his name, and you guys obviously can infer this. So, Jim and I have actually been off air having this debate.
Smoke
So-
is blowing out of my ears because I know where you're going.
And I'm actually going to give him the forum on this,
All
okay?
right, please.
So he had a guest on, one Craig Carton, obviously Boomer and Carton.
Which I never listened to, but
And I
go
never
ahead.
listened to either. You know why? Because I didn't like the guy.
Exactly.
Number one,
Go
okay?
ahead.
But number two, we're bringing this up, okay? Obviously, he's going to jail. Gambling addict, this, that, and the other thing. Might be the biggest douchebag in the history of sports. I'm talking,
Talk anyway.
I'm talking media and all that stuff, right?
Okay.
That's our opinion, okay? I did not see the interview yesterday.
Then throw it to me, and I'll.
However, I'm going to give Mr. Jim the forum here.
Okay.
And what are your thoughts, Jim?
Let me put some perspective in this. I don't listen to sports talk radio. Francesca, Kay, you know, Steve and I, this is what we do, and we don't bash our colleagues in the industry. But this was almost over the top for me. I'm happen to flipping around and I see this Michael Kay show, right? He does a thing on Yes Network, right? And they
Well, he's
televise it.
broadcast on that.
Whatever.
ESPN radio.
And I see this guy, and I almost said, "Who is this guy?" And then I watched it for 2 minutes, and I started to get into it, and then I realized this was Craig Carton, the guy that's a convicted felon,
Now a
going to
convicted
jail
felon,
for
correct.
3.5 years.
Yep. And
And-
deservedly so.
Okay, whatever. I don't even know, you know, his whole genre or what he did.
Right. Just
And
get
I'm
on.
sitting here going, Michael Kay, this is your show, and you're interviewing a convicted felon. And, okay, he's got Rosenberg on the left, who I don't think anything of. LaGreca on the right, who I don't think anything of. However, they start talking to this guy, and he just keeps going on. And I could see them pandering to this guy because he's in the business. I'm going, this guy's going to jail. How did he even get out of his handcuffs to get to the Yes studio?
Probably got a month of freedom before he's
But
got
it
to
really
report.
was unbelievable the way they pandered to this guy. And I think I'm going to say this. I hate to do it, but Michael Kay should be ashamed of himself. If he did it for ratings, okay, well, you got ratings. But you got this guy who's going to jail. And then they pander to him, and Carton goes, the reason behind this, and like I said, I don't know anything about Carton. I was sexually molested at summer camp. And that's what he's blaming all this on. And now you hear Kay and these other guys just tone it down and give him the sympathy. It was unbelievable. I just can't believe it. And I always liked Michael Kay. He's a Fordham guy. He's a New York guy. Knows what he's talking about. But I think he compromised the integrity, which is something that sports with mano and mano would never do. If Craig Carton knocked on our door today and said, "Can I be on your show?" I'd say, "You have got to be kidding me." That's my feelings. Steve, take it away, because I was blown away by it.
No.
I actually blown away.
And you and I talked about it yesterday. So here's my take. I'm not a fan of Carton.
Never
No.
listened to him. I don't know anything about him.
However, I can understand why Michael Kay had him on the show. Now, hear me out.
Okay.
The more I've researched
You're
this.
my partner, and I respect your opinion. So go ahead, because
This Carton said unconscionable things about Peter Rosenberg. And I'm not a Rosenberg fan. Now, I listened to the show, don't get me wrong, right? And I'm not a big fan of Rosenberg. But I'm giving Rosenberg credit here. That Carton came into the studio, right? And Rosenberg, to his credit, looked him in the eye and put his feelings aside, but listened to this nonsense. So I'm going to give Rosenberg some credit here. You're not a LaGreca fan. I am. I actually, Don LaGreca, I actually like. He's from Hawthorne.
go ahead, finish your opinion, because I want to get back to the Rosenberg and LaGreca.
But I just wanted to throw that out there.
Go ahead.
I think Michael Kay did that to show or hear Carton and let the audience decide, right? Good or bad. And obviously we know your feelings. Listen, my feelings are this guy deserves to go to prison. And I was taken aback, actually, by his lack of contrition, because this guy, all he's doing is knows he's going in for 3 years, and he's setting up his next step. And guess what? Somebody's going to hire him.
Okay.
And it makes me sick, too.
All right.
Okay? So you're crushing Kay. My point is, I understand. I don't think it was a ratings thing. I think Kay gave him the audience or gave him the forum and let the audience decide. And listen to me. After hearing this, and I did hear it, I have more or less respect for Carton than I did have going in. And I'm not going to say what I really want to say, what happens to him in prison, but don't be surprised that this guy, Carton, and I can't stand mentioning his name.
No, that he ends
It's
up
going to
back
be on the radio in 3 years.
I get it. That's not what I was talking about. What I was talking about was, yes, I think he sold out. I mean, I guess because Ted Bundy's dead and Manson's dead, that's why, Kay couldn't get those guys.
I got it.
But
Dahmer.
this guy, right,
At least I didn't eat anybody.
right. John Wayne Gacy, forget it. Let's not even joke.
That's a show in itself.
Okay, but
the clown.
But the way this guy Carton ripped this guy Rosenberg time and time again,
Yes.
and Rosenberg cowered down like a lamb with 3 legs.
But I think Rosenberg was the better man for inviting him in and looking at him and saying.
But this was their show.
That's for our audience.
And he
to
let
decide.
this guy who crapped on him and just embarrassed him for years.
Yes.
And he cowered to him because
I don't
he
think
was on
he
the
cowered
show.
to him. I don't.
All right.
I think All
right.
And listen, I'm not a fan of Rosenberg's opinions.
I don't think he knows a lot about sports, to be quite
But
honest.
to be fair to the
He
guy,
cowered to Craig Carton, a convicted felon. And I saw it and I was blown away. I'm sorry, that's my opinion.
listen, sports with mono and mono. We would love some feedback on this topic, especially.
Please give some feedback.
All
on
right,
this.
so our email is sports with mono and mono at gmail.com.
And please.
Really, we would love to get some feedback on this thing.
And Steve and I, listen, we're partners, but of course, we're never going to agree on everything. But
We
this was
shouldn't
something-
agree on everything.
But this
That's
is a
the point.
topic, and we're not here to do shtick and play against one another. Our opinions are our opinions, and we want our audience to give us their feedback. But we see things in a different light on this topic in particular. Because I was so blown away, I just can't believe it. I really can't believe that Michael Kay, who sat there while this interview was going on with his phone, because
Right.
it was on TV.
Right, and his bifocals.
Right,
and
not
all that
even
stuff.
paying attention to what's being said.
He
He's
is.
texting and doing all this stuff.
I think we disagree.
Then why have him?
I'm a Michael Kay fan. I am.
I used to be a Michael Kay
Okay.
fan.
That-
All right.
That's fair.
So
All right.
anyway,
So let's get to the shout outs, Mr. Monahan. I would like to shout out, and let me lead the pack here, to one of our loyal listeners, Anthony Macefield.
Okay.
Anthony lives in Oakland.
Hello, Anthony.
Anthony, thank you for listening, and we really appreciate the support that and feedback you give in the show. So that's my shout out is to Anthony Macefield.
Awesome. And I'm going to give a shout out to my daughter Danielle, who's been a loyal listener.
Homie.
I know. I feel like Michael Kay now. But no, she's a loyal listener, and
Hi, Danielle.
And her partner Ryan, who I gave a shout out to last week, is
Ryan,
a loyal listener.
Hope you're feeling better, kid.
And like I said, I just want to give a shout out to Danielle, and I appreciate it, Danny. You're the best. So, anyway, before we sign out, Steve, let's talk about our sponsors, right? Of course, loyal listeners.
Correct. So let's lead the pack with Di Filippi's Bakery in Monticello, New York.
Yeah.
Anytime you go in there, you get a 10% discount if you mention Sports with Mono and Mono.
And if you buy a dozen cannolis, 10% means something.
It certainly does. And, ask for Carmela in particular, the owner.
Yep. And I'll bring up, of course, Lynch Toyota of Manchester, Connecticut, and Harley Davidson of Utica and so forth. And, of course, obviously our latest sponsor, Coriano Trucking.
Exactly. As I
Inc.
mentioned before, the pound for pound toughest guy we ever played football with.
Boy.
And all kidding aside, our sponsor there, Guy, right? This is for our audience. Wasn't the biggest guy when we played sports, but let me tell you, he packed a punch. And he wouldn't take crap from anybody. And that goes to our whole audience, right? Don't care how big, strong, and all this other stuff. His internal fortitude is to be commended.
And that's
And
why
we thank you, Guy, for sponsoring our show. We're a big
sure do.
fan of you.
But he carried that fortitude and so forth to his trucking company. And if you
Absolutely.
need something to get from point A to point B, he will make sure it happens.
Look him up, absolutely.
No
Guy
matter what.
Coriano is a trustworthy individual, and we're very proud to have him as a sponsor.
Yep. So good show, Steve. Good show. Like I said, we're not always going to agree, but we covered a lot of stuff tonight, and I think, listen, next step, the Masters. Can't wait to talk about it.
Can't wait either. Part 3 tomorrow. What the sad part is Arnie is not going to be striking that first ball.
I know.
But we all age and so on and so forth.
But great stuff. So I can't wait to our next show to talk about the Masters. Like I said, we all got our thoughts on it. So enjoy it, Virginia. Congratulations, and we'll talk to you guys next week.
All right.
Thanks.
Thanks, everybody. Good night. Could be our longest show, 47.